I'm pretty much fed. That's my considered opinion. Fed. That's the first thought of astronaut Mark Watney after he regains consciousness on the red plains of Mars, stranded and left for dead by his crew. The mission is over. The storm was unexpected. The crew had no choice. But Watney? He's very much alive, alone, with no way to communicate, no rescue in sight, supplies running out, and an entire planet of silence pressing in on all sides. Imagine it. You wake up with a hole in your spacesuit, blood freezing in the sub-zero air, and realize that everything you know, every system, every safeguard, every protocol, was built for a mission that no longer exists. You're not just off-grid, you're off-planet. Welcome to The Martian, a survival epic set not in the wilderness of Earth, but on the vast, dead frontier of Mars. This is not a story about aliens, space battles, or wormholes. This is science fiction rooted in realism. No mystical technology, no deus ex machina, just science, sweat, and sheer willpower. It's Apollo 13 meets Cast Away on another planet. And yet, beneath the numbers, the technical jargon, and the wit, Andy Weir's The Martian is a profound meditation on resilience, human ingenuity, and the desperate, beautiful urge to not die today. Let's dive in. The mission, Ares 3, and the setup of survival. Before the chaos, there was structure. Ares 3 was the third manned mission to Mars, and it had gone like clockwork, until Sol 6, when the dust storm hit. Andy Weir opens with this critical moment, not just to spark suspense, but to showcase a theme that echoes through the novel. Uncertainty is the only certainty in space. The storm wasn't supposed to be a problem. The odds were low. The system said it was fine. And yet, it nearly killed them all. Watney's presumed dead, impaled by an antenna and lost in a signal blackout. The crew evacuates. NASA mourns. Earth mourns. But as readers, we're thrust into Watney's bloodied, dust-caked boots as he blinks back into consciousness. And from there, the book does something clever. It slows down. Where most thrillers accelerate, The Martian turns inward. It becomes a science diary, a step-by-step manual of problem-solving under pressure. And here lies Weir's magic. He makes the mundane monumental. Water is not just water, it's life. Potatoes are salvation. Duct tape is divine. The habitat, or hab, becomes the fragile dome that separates existence from oblivion. Every system is critical. Oxygenator, water reclaimer, the solar panels, the MAV, Mars Ascent Vehicle, and especially the food supply. The realism is precise because Andy Weir wrote it that way, researching NASA documentation, physics calculations, and space engineering with the zeal of a man preparing for his own interplanetary survival. And then, a spark of hope. The potatoes. Watney discovers a stash of them meant for Thanksgiving. Using Martian soil, sterilized, his own feces, not sterile, and water he later manufactures through a risky hydrogen combustion process, he begins growing food. This is not a gimmick, it's the heart of the novel. They say once you grow crops somewhere, you have officially colonized it. It's one of Watney's quietest lines, and yet it marks a turning point. No longer just surviving, he's adapting. He's fighting Mars itself with ingenuity. Earth awakens, the second perspective. Just when we've settled into the rhythm of survival, Weir zooms out, thousands of miles out. From the red sands of Mars to the blue conference rooms of NASA. It's a narrative shift that broadens the scope without breaking the tension. One moment we're watching Watney turn a spacesuit into a mini-bomb to make water. The next, we're in Pasadena, at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, where a satellite tech named Mindy Park notices something strange. The solar panels on Mars are clean. Someone's been wiping them off. Watney is alive. The revelation is seismic, and with it, a whole new kind of story ignites, not one of solitude, but of coordination, urgency, and bureaucratic chess. Earth's problem isn't that an astronaut is dead, it's that he's not. Now they have to bring him back. This became a national priority. The problem was, it wasn't NASA's fault. They did everything right. The storm was bad luck, but good luck. That's harder to manage. The novel's dual perspective, Watney on Mars, NASA on Earth, is a masterstroke. It builds tension in two directions. survival and rescue. On Earth, we get characters like Teddy Sanders, the pragmatic NASA director, Mitch Henderson, the flight director who embodies the emotional weight of responsibility, and Venkat Kapoor, a sharp, politically savvy scientist trying to thread the needle between ethics, science, and politics. This shift introduces one of the book's core themes, the friction between bureaucracy and urgency. NASA moves cautiously. Watney moves fast. He has no time for red tape. His oxygen levels don't wait for committee approvals. Meanwhile, NASA engineers grind through plans and politics. Every launch window is a puzzle of orbital mechanics and international diplomacy. Yet beneath the procedural jargon and technical hurdles, something remarkable begins to stir. A sense of global unity. The world begins to watch, to root for one man, and eventually, to act. Because while the science is cool and the stakes are astronomical, what drives the story forward is a very old, very human force: compassion. The edge of failure, fires, explosions, and foul language. From this point on, the Martian becomes a countdown, not just to rescue, but to collapse. For every step Watney takes forward, Mars answers with a punch to the gut. A minor breach in the Habsburg. It turns into a near-fatal decompression. The homemade water generator nearly blows him up. His rover, not designed for long-term exploration, and yet he keeps going. Watney is not fearless. He swears, panics, makes mistakes, and almost dies. Often. But his real strength is his mindset. He doesn't think in terms of survival. He thinks in problems. This line became iconic for a reason. It captures the soul of the novel, that human intelligence, coupled with grit and humor, is our best weapon against the void. Weir uses these constant setbacks to ratchet up suspense and show off the real-time cause and effect nature of space. Every action has consequences. Every shortcut has a trade-off. Mars is not malicious, it's indifferent. It kills by statistics, not malice. And yet, that's even scarier. Even the smallest tear in plastic becomes a death sentence. A software error could cost lives. Food rations, battery cycles, oxygen levels, they all come with ticking clocks. Watney's greatest enemy isn't just Mars, it's time. Humanity responds, international rescue and the Hermes Gambit. As the world learns Mark Watney is alive, a strange thing happens. Earth stops arguing. Political rivalries fade. NASA's funding becomes flexible. And when an unmanned resupply mission called Iris fails mid-launch, exploding in the upper atmosphere with Watney's last hope of food, help comes from an unexpected place: China. Through the China National Space Administration, Weir inserts a subtle but powerful message: space is bigger than borders. The Chinese offer their classified Taiyang Shen booster, not for profit, but out of solidarity. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. It's a classic sci-fi move, reminiscent of Star Trek's optimism or Asimov's humanist tones. And yet, Weir grounds it in realistic logistics, bureaucratic negotiations, careful phrasing, political tension just under the surface. It feels plausible, and all the more hopeful because of it. But that resupply mission alone won't be enough. Not in time. So another plan begins to take shape. Bold, risky, and bordering on mutiny. The crew of the Hermes, Watney's original Ares 3 team, receives a covert plan from astrodynamicist Rich Purnell. It suggests slingshotting Hermes around Earth using gravity assist to return to Mars early, without waiting for NASA's go-ahead. This decision, dubbed the Rich Purnell maneuver, presents a new layer of ethical conflict. Does NASA risk 5 more lives to save one? Should the crew even be told? Should they get a vote? Mitch Henderson, the mission commander back on Earth, leaks the maneuver to the crew. What follows is a moment that cements the heart of the novel. The crew unanimously chooses to go back. If we left him behind on Mars, it would haunt us forever. This is not just a rescue mission anymore. It's a moral stand. Loyalty becomes action. And in that decision, The Martian shifts from hard science fiction to deeply human drama. Watney doesn't know they're coming yet, but we do. And the emotional tension spikes. The final souls, journey, desperation, and the edge of the abyss. With his last crops destroyed by a hab breach, Watney's days are numbered. But there's still a sliver of hope. The MAV, the Mars Ascent Vehicle, waiting at the Schiaparelli crater, hundreds of kilometers away. Watney embarks on a final odyssey across the Martian desert, converting his rover into a rolling life support system. He hacks software, retools power lines, and survives multiple close calls, including a sandstorm that threatens to bury his solar panels. It's the novel's most introspective stretch, quiet, vast, and haunting. Weir doesn't speed through it. He lingers. We feel the isolation, the grinding repetition, the absurd humor Watney uses to hold his sanity together. The Martian becomes not just a survival story, but an existential journey, a man against the void. And then, the final stretch, a high-speed MAV launch stripped down to the bones. Watney duct tapes a hole in his suit to fly like Iron Man and reach Hermes in orbit. It's crazy, desperate, beautiful. I am not giving up. I am not dying here. When the tether finally catches, when Commander Lewis pulls Watney into the airlock, after all the math, the waiting, the silence, it hits like thunder. Relief, exhaustion, awe. Reflections, science, humanity, and what the Martian really means. So what is The Martian really about? At first glance, it's a hard sci-fi survival thriller. A man trapped on Mars, solving problems with science, duct tape, and sheer stubbornness. But underneath that high-stakes adventure lies a quiet but profound meditation on something far more human. Our collective will to help one another survive. Andy Weir crafts a world where people don't descend into chaos. They don't abandon the weak. They don't weaponize disaster. Instead, they unite. Engineers crunch numbers late into the night. Astronauts risk their lives without hesitation. Nations that barely trust each other collaborate, not for profit, but for principle. That's the novel's secret optimism. We save each other because we choose to. Watney isn't just a character. He's a symbol. He's the part of us that refuses to quit when the odds go dark. The guy who makes jokes to mask fear, who gets back up every time something breaks, and who never waits for a miracle. He builds one. From a thematic lens, The Martian explores the deep trust between humans and machines, the fragility of life in space, and the almost spiritual power of scientific thinking. It's not a sermon. It's not techno-worship. It's simply this. The universe doesn't care if we live, but we do. So we work the problem. And that's the essence of humanity in the book, the science of fiction. Weir's realism isn't just there to impress the reader. It's the heartbeat of the tension. Every chemical equation, oxygen calculation, and power budget matters. There's no magic, only effort. That makes every victory earned, every mistake costly. And yet, despite being science-heavy, the book never feels dry. Why? Because it's written like a confession. Watney's logs are filled with sarcasm, cursing, pop culture references, and blunt honesty. He is not a stoic astronaut in a propaganda reel. He's us, screaming into the void, then taping it back together. World building through absence. Mars is not described in lush prose. There are no sweeping panoramas or poetic ruminations. Instead, Weir builds Mars through silence. Through what's not there. No wind except in storms. No sound but Watney's own breath. No life except the stubborn sprouts of potato leaves in stolen Earth soil. It's a world that reminds us just how rare Earth is. The Martian is a love letter to science, but it's also an ode to home. When the dust settles and Watney stands before a classroom, teaching new recruits what it takes to survive in space, it feels like a quiet epilogue. A man who once faced death alone now helps others prepare for their own missions. And maybe that's the biggest idea of all. Knowledge, like courage, multiplies when shared. So here's a question to leave you with. If one person, completely alone, can fight an entire planet and win, what could all of us do, together, if we really tried?